going, everyone? It's Abysmal Bloom. I took Odion to locals last week, and this did surprisingly well. We went undefeated versus matchups like Atlantean, Millenium, Spright, and finally our final round was versus Maliss. And yeah, this was surprisingly effective against all of these strategies. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the deck profile. I'll show a little combo at the end, and then on top of that, I'll talk about some stuff that I may want to change or that I'm hoping for with this deck. So with that being said, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It just really helps me know that you guys enjoy this content. And yeah, with that, let's just jump right on into the video. Starting off for the main deck, our starters per se are Anubis the Last Judge. This guy is great because he gets you to your starter as well as he recycles your traps. From there, Man with the Mark is our ideal normal summon. This guy is technically a searcher for any spell or trap in the archetype, but we're usually trying to use him to get to the field spell. And if we have that in hand, we've got two other targets that are really solid. We can actually use it to search for the OG Temple of the Kings, and if we've got both in rotation, we can also use it to search for the counter trap. From there, we play 3 copies of Treasures of the Kings, and this field spell is just broken, and that's why you have to max it out. So to try and get to max copies as possible, I also play a copy of Terraforming and a copy of Set Rotation. I'll get to the field spell in a bit, but basically this card is crazy because when you first activate it, you automatically just get to place an Apophis trap, and this already gets you an Omni Negate in rotation. But on top of that, if you've got 2 set cards or a trap in your graveyard, he also gets you a search as well. So he's just extremely powerful, and yeah, you always want to try and get this to resolve if you can. So finally, the other field spell that I'm playing along with set rotation right now is the Magical Midbreaker field. I've just kind of put it there because it is kind of nasty for decks that care about their field spell. I might just put in Chicken Game or something like that going forward. But yeah, those are your starters. From there, the rest of this is basically engine requirement that you kind of have to play because you're on this engine. So I play 1 copy of Merciless, and it's literally just there to search the Temple of the Kings, because you do want this in your combo so that you can activate your traps on the same turn. For the actual traps we play, I decided to go with just 1 copy of the new Apophis, 2 copies of the Omni Negates, and 1 copy of Embodiment of Apophis. So I know some people are trying to cut the level 4 because it is literally a brick, but I did find actually playing this guy was really useful. So I think one of my matches, I literally had to find a way to make a rank 4 after my opponent outed my man. So Apophis is a level 4 and Embodiment is a level 4 as well. So not something that comes up a lot, but you can literally just summon Apophis and use it to get to Embodiment and just summon it as well, and you have a rank 4 play as well. So it doesn't hurt, and then on top of that, when the Serpent goes to the graveyard anyways, you can search this from your deck. So it's literally just pretty solid, just for those reasons. Finally, the other packages that I thought were really nice and worth playing. I play 1 copy of the Statue of the Anguish pattern because it goes like +4 interactions. Every single time you bring out one of these traps, it's a pop. So it just does a lot. And then the other package that I tried to abuse, basically because we have that rank 4 package, is Lord of the Heavenly Prisons. And I think everybody's already talked about why it's so good, but yeah, he basically protects your back row, so your set cards are protected, and if you have man on the board, your face-up engine's also kind of protected. And then finally, when you activate a trap, this guy just comes out, and then you get your floodgate of choice. So in the main deck, we obviously play the 1 copy of Verdict of Anubis, because it is a really solid counter trap, just blows up their whole board. But I also decided to play 1 copy of the Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon, and this is a personal tech choice. I really like the fact that if you have your continuous traps face up on the board, this literally just resets it. And on top of that, anything your opponent has just kind of gets outed as well. So because of that sort of synergy stuff, I decided to go and play this as well. And so it literally works out real nicely. If you're worried about a spell or trap just kind of being an out to your board, you just get Verdict of Anubis ready for that. And in other situations when you just want to get rid of the monsters on the opponent's board, you've got the Karma Cannon, which literally kind of does the same thing and resets your own board. So yeah. As for the non-engine in the main deck, I decided to go for a mix of a hand trap and board breaker approach, I guess. To be honest, it was more about trying to find a lot of cards that fulfilled the condition for just making sure my field spell's always live. So I played obviously one copy of Pot of Prosperity. This one is kind of needed because your starter count is already kind of low. And yeah, you just need to get as much consistency as you can. Plus, this deck, you have so much extra deck space, so it doesn't really matter. From there, I played 2 copies of Nib because it kind of has a lot of use cases in this deck. Obviously, it's a decent hand trap, but then on top of that, you can also just banish for Summoning Circuit. And because you're also playing the Lord of the Heavenly Prisons, you can technically also use the same line to search a Nibiru and add it to your hand. From there, I played 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and this is mainly because it's a generic solid hand trap that can hit almost at any point. I may consider something else, I don't know. If I'm really trying to lean towards that more board breaking approach, I might take this out for something else. We play 3 copies of Imperm. This is pretty standard. Your back row does get filled up, so this can get a bit rough sometimes to use, but I mean, you just set it and your field spell's live, and if you're going second, you can kind of use this to board break as well sometimes, so I kind of wanted to just have it in there. On the same note, for the rest of the cards literally are board breakers for the most part. So we got 2 copies of Metaltronus, and this was a choice that I wanted to go for, as going first you can still set it and it's always live, and then going second it can help you really deal with the troublesome cards like the Detonator end board. Similarly, I tried playing Book of Eclipse, and this actually came in clutch. So I already mentioned it before with the Karma Cannon, but I really like the ability to be able to reset your continuous traps, and that's what I was trying to abuse with being able to do Book of Eclipse. But it also actually mattered versus a Maliss matchup, because my opponent tried to imperm my man, and so I just chained to that Book of Eclipse to dodge it. So it comes up in that sort of aspect as well. So it's really actually underrated at how good this is. On the same note, I played Call by the Grave, because in general it's pretty solid. And then the last 3 cards were 2 Thrust and 1 Talents. I'm not sure if I want to keep it in this ratio. I might change it to maybe 3 Talents. I just really like the ability to set the card, try and bait out a hand trap when you activate your field spell, and if they ash it, for example, now your Talents is live. You can either draw cards or hand rip, so it just becomes really solid in that aspect. For the extra deck, I was on 1 copy of Typhon, and honestly, this felt really good in a going second approach like this. Even if you're not able to fully clear out the opponent's board, you can summon a body, and if it gets interacted with, you just still make Typhon on top of it, try to out the opponent's board, and you usually also just have your set back row for the opponent's turn. So there's always something to follow up with, and so yeah, this guy was nice. Similarly, I played 1 copy of Time Thief Redoer and the Gallant Granite. You're normally going for the Gallant Granite combo to just kind of shut down your opponent going first. And then going second, Time Thief Redoer actually comes in clutch, because there's not really much you have a use for all the normal bodies on board. And generally the link monsters kind of usually need effect monsters to really make an effect go off. So yeah, Time Thief Redoer, he's really solid, just takes your level 4s and actually makes a good use for it. I then played 2 copies of Rabbit, and this card is phenomenal. You always want to really make this on your end board, and there's a few reasons. Obviously, first off, it can get you to your Apophis traps if it got countered somehow, or you can also just use it to get to a more powerful end board with your Anguish pattern. But another use case that actually comes up that's kind of not really talked about a lot is it gets you a second set card so that your field spell can also again be live. So as I mentioned before, I'm really just prioritizing trying to make sure that field spell is always live. And yeah, this is really good for that. I was then on IP and SP. I will say, I don't know how relevant it was really to actually be playing these two guys. I don't think I ever made it in any of my matches. IP is nice because it just takes two non-link monsters, so your normal monsters, normal traps also just can be used for it. The SP Little Knight, on the other hand, is something that needs an effect monster, but I mean, if you have like a Link Spider lying around, you could just totally use this for 2 interactions. Speaking of, I played 1 copy of Link Spider. I don't really see myself going into that stuff all that much, but it is something I do want to at least have a copy of just in case it comes up. And also, like, if your opponent nibs you for some reason, you can at least convert that into an effect monster for your other stuff. I was also on 1 copy of Cross Sheep, and this was because I figured the Contact Fusion monster, the Divine Serpent Apophis, would be more relevant, but surprisingly enough, it doesn't really come up as much as I thought. It was kind of nice to have at least 1 copy. I'm not playing 2 copies literally because I didn't have a second copy before the tournament, but for the most part, I think maybe except for 1 match, I don't see myself going for the fusion monster all that much. So yeah, it's a good card. When you do need it and it comes up, it's really clutch. But honestly, 1 copy of this is more than enough, and I'd probably cut the Cross Sheep for something else going forward. And then lastly, the remaining 5 cards were literally just slots for my Metaltronus and my Ultimate Slayer targets. So we have the 1 Detonator, which now that I think about it could probably be replaced because we already have Nib in the main deck. We have the Tri-Brigade plus the Garura, just so that we've got a Link target and a Fusion target, and we draw 1 as well. I have the Aggregator, and this is again basically an Ultimate Slayer target for Ryziel, and you can also use this as a Metaltronus target for a Maliss. And then the last card was the Golden Cloud Beast Malong, which again, really solid, because it's literally an Ultimate Slayer as well as a Metaltronus target for Blue Eyes. Finally, for the side deck, I think everybody knows it, but we have to play 3 Lancia. We are also on 3 copies of Droll, Ultimate Slayer, Lightning Storm, Feather Duster, and yeah, this is all pretty generic. I was also on 1 copy of Dimensional Barrier, just because it shuts down everything with your Heavenly Prisons combo. We have the Different Dimension Ground, which I might consider switching out for maybe like another Floodgate, just because we do have an option of rank 4 with Abyss Dweller. And then the last card was the Imperial Iron Wall, and this literally just hits Maliss way too hard. Okay, so for our first combo, we're going to start off with Anubis the Last Judge and any set card. So this is technically a 1.5 card combo, but you only really need that card to set for the field spell. So again, it could totally just, it's literally just a 1 card combo. So starting off, we'll pitch Anubis to add to our hand a copy of Man with the Mark. From here, we'll go ahead and normal summon the Man with the Mark, and we'll use his effect here to get to our hands the field spell. We'll go ahead and activate the field spell, which on activation will place directly a copy of the Apophis the Serpent set. From here, we're going to just put our second card set so that we can now use the effect of Treasures of the Kings to add a copy of Merciless to our hand. We'll go ahead and use the effect of Merciless, summoning condition of Merciless, to banish a level 10 or higher. So I'm just going to banish Nibiru, but you could totally just do another copy of Anubis if you just want to save the space. And then now that he's on the field, we'll use his effect to search for Temple of the Kings. So now that this is live, we can activate it, and now we can activate our Apophis Trap on the same turn. But even if we get interacted with here and our opponent somehow stops us from getting to Temple of the Kings, I just want to let you guys know we still do have an Omni Negate in the form of Apophis, and then we still have 2 bodies which we can go and use to go into something like the Silhouette Rabbit. But yeah, if uninteracted with, we can now activate our Apophis Trap, and this will just summon itself out, and then we have a choice of going for the Apophis the Swamp Deity or the embodiment of Apophis. Most likely we're going to actually just set the Apophis the Swamp Deity, and we're just going to hold on to this as a negate for the opponent's turn. One thing you do need to note about this is you do need to have another continuous trap in rotation so that this can be an Omni Negate. So it's really important that this goes to the graveyard so that you can actually search this out, and you still have the Omni Negate in rotation. But yeah, we're just going to set the Swamp Deity here, and now we have a level 4 and a level 4. So we're just going to overlay these two for our Xyz monster, Gallant Granite. And so yeah, we're going to use the effect of Gallant Granite, detach Apophis the Swamp Deity, and this is going to be how we search into our copy of the Lord of the Heavenly Prisons, and on resolution we also get the embodiment of Apophis to hand. So one thing to note is this is summon number 4, and so just to be able to also be pretty safe around something like Nib as well, we're just going to end our combo on Link 2 into a Silhouette Rabbit, which can then go ahead and set directly a copy of Statue of Anguish pattern. So from here, we already have 4 set cards. We're going to set the embodiment of Apophis as well, and then we just resolve Lord of the Heavenly Prisons in hand. From here, on the opponent's turn, we can start off with the Statue of the Anguish pattern. One thing I do want to note, Statues of the Anguish pattern, as well as the Apophis the Serpent, are both continuous traps that can be activated whenever, but your other continuous traps, so both the Apophis the Swamp Deity as well as embodiment of Apophis, can only be activated during the main phase, so that is something you should watch out for. But anyways, once you've activated a trap, you can resolve Lord of the Heavenly Prisons, use his effect to summon himself, and then you can set directly from your deck your choice of a counter trap or the Daruma Karma Cannon, and resolve it whenever you see fit, as long as Temple of the Kings is still live on the board. So that's the main combo that you're going for. And then as for interactions, basically when you summoned this was an interaction with Rabbit. You can technically hold on to that for another time as well. Now that the Anguish pattern's on the board, if you summon this is a negate for 1, so that's 2 interactions, and then this is a pop as well when you summon this. When you activate the embodiment of Apophis, this will also get a pop, and so you got already something like 1-2 pops off of the Anguish pattern, a pop off of the Silhouette Rabbit, the Omni Negate off of the Swamp Deity, and then your choice of a Floodgate like effect or just a really powerful counter. Another solid 1.5 card combo you can do is with just the field spell and a set card. So we're going to start off the same way. We're going to activate Treasures of the Kings, and this is going to start by placing Apophis the Serpent. From here, we'll set our card, and now use the field spells effect to search for a monster that mentions Treasures of the Kings. This is going to be Anubis here, and so yeah, we're going to just use his effect and pitch him to get to Man with the Mark. From here, we're going to normal summon him and use his effect here to search for the OG Temple of the Kings. You can now activate it, and this lets us resolve Apophis the Serpent on the same turn. So we're going to just summon Apophis the Serpent here and place Apophis the Swamp Deity. So here, if you wanted, you could go for a rank 4 or rank 2 play, but in this situation, I think the better choice is to actually just bring out Apophis the Swamp Deity. If you have a negate for something on the board, go ahead and use it. But from here, we're going to actually take these two bodies and contact fuse into our Divine Serpent Apophis. And so this is going to first off trigger the Serpent's effect in the graveyard so that we can add this to our hand. And from here, we'll just use the effect of Divine Serpent Apophis to reset these two traps. So if our opponent has a negate for this specific situation, we still have this in our hand, so we can actually still have some interactions on the opponent's turn. So with that being said, we're actually just going to end the turn on this. We don't really need to do too much more, because this by itself is already a pop when we summon a continuous trap with the Divine Serpent Apophis, and then we also get access to two negates, and the Man with the Mark on the board with the Temple of the Kings gives us protection for both our Man with the Mark, our field spell, the Temple of the Kings, as well as the Apophis monsters, so the fusion monster as well as the traps. So we can totally end on this, and this is actually pretty decent into a Ryziel board as well, just because even if the opponent tries to pop our stuff, it just can't get destroyed. So it's a really solid option. But let's say we want to actually add a little bit more interaction into the opponent's end board. We can proceed to take this a little bit further and just link 2 into the Silhouette Rabbit, and this will be the 5th summon, but that's again just going to be used to place the Statue of the Anguish pattern. And then even in this scenario, you get something like 4 interruptions and I think 2 negates. So this would go something like, start off with Statue of Anguish pattern, and now any continuous trap you summon is a pop. So if we again summon the Serpent, this will place this negate on the board and you get a pop. You get another pop and a negate, and this also is another pop and a negate. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interactions total if you go with this. And the only downside really is that you kind of lose out on that protective end board. The biggest issue with this deck is that you need more consistency. So I'll try to probably figure another way to get more of that out there. But yeah, that's where my deck's at right now. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.